Alright, as mentioned recently, I've been really digging iris in fragrances a lot lately. So yesterday you saw the video on Givenchy, Gentleman Givenchy fragrances collection, which are all iris focused. I'm not featuring any of those fragrances here, but today's video is about iris fragrances in case you might have missed. So these are the ones that probably do not get a lot of love or hype in the community, and I wanted to point them out to you guys so that you can check them out in case you are needing some more iris fragrances. So find out about these iris fragrances that are not too hyped coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, today I'm talking about iris fragrances. It's been a recent rediscovery for me. Like, I've been really digging the smell of iris. Not only because I really dig Dior Homme Parfum or the Dior Homme series of fragrances, and then of course the Givenchy, Gentleman Givenchy series of fragrances, but just some fragrances are really exciting me as far as iris goes. And recent loves have been one that I featured in the Atelier MATERI video, Iris Ebene. There's Iris MALIKHAN. There's TANAGRA. There's a few others which are all here in this video that I think you guys should know about in case, like I said, if you're looking for a new iris fragrance and you are digging the idea of a powdery iris or Orris fragrance. So these are all really great fragrances. I really love them. There's 10 of them here plus one bonus. Before I get to the fragrances, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed, please click that subscribe button below and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So we're gonna get right to this. This is the one that I've been really digging, really loving. This is from the house of MAISON CRIVELLI. This is Iris MALIKHAN. I really think this is one of the best iris fragrances that I've sampled in a long time. It smells fantastic. As soon as I smelled this one, I knew it was an amazing release, and I absolutely love its contrasts, the powdery iris touches. It's Orris here. Of course, this is what they use for the iris, the root of the iris. And then, you know, this one also has the leathery touches, and then it also has the green touches. So I would call this a woody green powdery iris fragrance with Cypress, Mastic, Galbanum, Orris, Orris butter, Mimosa absolute, vanilla, leather, amber, and musks. It's a really great fragrance. A lot of you asked me if this smells anything like night clubbing from the house of Celine. You know, it's kind of a similar idea, not really similar. I am going to do a comparison video very soon. I've got both of them here. I much prefer Iris MALIKHAN, not only because I think the smell is much better. They're similar, but I like the way this one smells. Plus, this one is a farther reaching fragrance than a lot of the Celine fragrances seem to be subdued, if that makes sense. I do have another Celine fragrance in here that I'm going to talk to you about, not night clubbing, but we're going to start things off with Iris MALIKHAN. Check it out if you don't know it. It's really a wonderful smelling fragrance. This next one's from the house of Atelier MATERI. This is Iris or EBENE. Ebony Iris, I guess is what it translates to, and I recently featured this in a house overview video over the weekend. There's a giveaway there too. If you haven't caught that video, we're doing a discovery set, 3 discovery set giveaways of the whole entire collection of Atelier MATERI fragrances. This one to be is a woody musky powdery leather fragrance with leather, suede, iris, peppercorn, sandalwood, Peru balsam, musk, allspice. It's very spicy. It definitely has spices in here, and seems like this house Atelier MATERI uses a lot of pepper, black pepper, pink pepper, those kind of peppery notes. So there's definitely spicy edges in the fragrance. But this particular iris fragrance not only reminds me of a few other iris fragrances, as I mentioned in that video, but also has a lightly animalic, leathery experience here. So if you like the idea of animalics with iris, definitely check this one out. It eventually settles to an ambery, woody experience, but definitely really powdery with the iris and very leathery. So Iris Ebene, a great smelling iris fragrance you should definitely check out. Next fragrance, going to the house of CABANEL. This is Oh La La. Do you guys know this one? Again, very sexy. I find iris to be very sexy to me. The way it smells, the leatheriness. Iris does have a light leatheriness. Some of them can go buttery, creamy, but not necessarily like milky creamy. A little more textural creaminess I get from iris. Perhaps it's because of the Orris butter that are featured in the fragrances. But this one also has a nuttiness to it. It features hazelnuts. So it's a woody, nutty, powdery iris fragrance with Orris, hazelnuts, sandalwood, tonka beans, white musk, musk, saffron, tobacco. Yeah, it does have a little tobacco-ish nuances, which is kind of great because it adds this like light ashiness to the fragrance, but it's all very powdery, a little buttery, definitely nutty, and woody as well. So oh la la, a great scent. This is such a great release from this house. I absolutely love it. And if you are an iris lover and you haven't gotten your nose on oh la la, definitely do, because it's really, really great. All of these I highly recommend as great iris fragrances that I absolutely really enjoy. Next fragrance, going to the house of Maison Violet. This is Tanagra, this one right here. I've spoken about this one quite a bit. Really do enjoy this particular fragrance, and even though it's its unique iris fragrance, it does have a light hint of Dior Homme series of fragrances. It will remind you, you'll get that kind of a reminder in there, but it fades away. This one I would call a woody, floral, powdery iris fragrance with iris, tangerine, musk, vetiver, cedar, peony, jasmine, freesia, and pear. You heard all those notes. There's lots of floral notes in here, a little fruitiness in here, some citrusy touches in here as well, but lots of musk. There's some woodiness, the grassy earth woodiness from the vetiver note in here, but lots of iris, and it wears very, very airy, and I like that about this particular fragrance. I enjoy the reminder of Dior Homme line of fragrances. More for me like a cross between Dior Homme and Dior Homme Intense, not Dior Homme Parfum, but really a wonderful smelling fragrance which settles to woods and powdery experience. So Tanagra from the house of Maison Violet, a great smelling fragrance. This next one's from the house of Olfactive Studio. This is Iris Shot, this one right here. Do you guys know this one? You know, this one was not a love at first sniff to me, but now that I've revisited Iris, like really enjoying Iris in fragrances, I circled back with this one, and I really, really do like this one. The series of fragrances in this collection, there were 3 done. It was Violet Shot, it was Iris Shot, and there was Rose Shot. All of them are created by Dominique Ropion. I'm a big fan of his fragrances. And again, as I said, when I first experienced this one, it wasn't like a wow fragrance. Now it's grown on me a lot, and we're really digging it. This one is also a nutty experience. I would call this a woody, powdery, nutty iris fragrance with iris, carrot seeds, cardamom, almonds, aldehydes, cassis, pink pepper. Whenever you see carrot seeds, you will always have a kind of a reminder of iris, because they do apparently substitute the notes for one another, because both of them are iris powdery experience, but apparently carrot seeds do have a more vegetal experience, although I also get vegetal experience from iris to begin with. But this fantastic fragrance, it's a little spicy. Of course, there's a little bit of aldehydic fizziness in here as well, and some light fruitiness, and definitely spicy, but great fragrance. Definitely check this one out. This is Iris Shot from the house of Olfactive Studio. I think it definitely deserves the attention, and especially now that I've really dug into it. You know, as I said, sometimes fragrances I get as a trio, you know, one of them really stands out and I really like it, but sometimes one of the others, which is actually really, really great, just kind of doesn't perform as great as the one that you're really loving. But then you circle back to it and you really, really appreciate it because it grows on you. You realize, oh my god, what was I thinking? I didn't like this fragrance. Now I really like the way it smells, kind of a thing. Moving on to the Eccentric Molecules collection, and they launched a trio of spiked, I guess I would call it, fragrances to Molecule 1. They had the patchouli, the mandarin, and then of course the iris. So if you like iris and you like the idea of Molecule 1, or you enjoy Molecule 1, they are combined here in this particular fragrance. It's a very simplistic experience, but very musky and woody. So I'd call this a woody, powdery, musky iris fragrance with Orris ISOE Super. So ISOE Super is a synthetic note to smell like mostly cedar. I do get some light sandalwoody touches in there as well. It's also very, very musky here. And then that Orris butter adds a little buttery, kind of powdery iris experience. The experience is great. It's minimalistic. Those of you that like skin sense minimalistic fragrances definitely need to check out all of the Eccentric Molecules fragrances. But if you like that kind of spiking with the iris, definitely check out Molecule 1 plus Iris from Eccentric Molecules. The next fragrance is from the house of Celine. As I mentioned, there is a Celine fragrance. It's not night clubbing. You know, the entire Celine collection of fragrances is very Orris Iris focused. So if you like Orris Iris fragrances, definitely hit up that collection of fragrances. I will do a full house overview eventually, very, very soon, as I now have the entire 10 fragrances here. The thing is, the negative, and I'm going to say it all the time, they're very subdued fragrances. So if you like subdued fragrances, ones that don't scream, ones that are not beast mode, this is a collection for you. I don't know why they've done these fragrances like this. I don't know. But they have some great smelling fragrances, especially La Peau Nue is what this one is. Celine La Peau Nue. It's a powdery, floral, earthy iris fragrance with Orris. There's rose, rice, bergamot, and vetiver. And as I mentioned recently, I made a post about this on Instagram. I said there's a little bit of a violet thing happening in there, whereas they might have featured a violet note and they probably didn't, you know, credit the note, or maybe it's the rose and the Orris together creating a kind of a violet experience. A little lipsticky kind of a makeup experience happens in this particular fragrance as well. So either it's just the notes together or there is that violet thing, because violets are also powdery, but they definitely have a different smell than iris. But this is really, really great. It's not like night clubbing. It's not like Iris MALIKHAN. I find night clubbing closer to Iris MALIKHAN from MAISON CRIVELLI in comparison to La Peau Nue. But this is a really, really great smelling fragrance. I didn't want to feature night clubbing here, as I said. I do want to highlight this one because this one is a very, very full-on Orris iris experience. So Celine La Peau Nue, another great fragrance. I think I didn't mention that this is not a ranked list, okay? So I'm just highlighting great smelling iris fragrances that you might have missed potentially, and definitely for you guys to check out. And the rest of the fragrances you might have heard about. They are a little older than the remainder of the list, but I think definitely need to be highlighted. They're not some of the most popular iris fragrances. This is from the house of Xerjoff. And I featured this in my video recently, my top 20 Xerjoff fragrances video over the weekend. If you haven't caught it, please go catch it. This is Apollonia. I definitely had this in the top 5. This is, you know, once again, it's kind of like the Celine fragrances. It's subdued. It's a closer to the skin fragrance experience compared to other Xerjoff fragrances. But it's the melt, kind of, you melt when you smell this kind of a smell, kind of a fragrance, you know? It's that great. It's a great smelling combination of powdery notes, floral notes. It's musky experience, and then also lots of iris with this one. It features Orris, white musk, white flowers, and that's pretty much the extent of the notes that they credit. The musk is great. It's clean. It's a white musk, beautiful, very, very powdery experience. Along with the Orris, you do experience the butteriness. This one's definitely got that kind of textured, buttery experience, the way that I see Orris visually. So something about it is buttery, lightly leathery as well, and then lots of white flowers. And these are non-distinct flowers. White flowers such as perhaps tuberose, maybe more like blossoms that are not too fragrant, because there is definitely floral experience here. It could be magnolia, could be very lightly smelling jasmine, but the overall combination is amazing. Absolutely love it. This is Apollonia from the house of Xerjoff. Definitely worth checking out. This next fragrance is about Orris or iris, but it's also about vanilla. This is from the house of Christian Louboutin. This is Loubi Rouge, this one right here. So this is a great smelling, yummy fragrance. Kind of goes into that very spicy vanilla direction of fragrances like Atelier des Ors, Lune Feline. Well, guess what? The same perfumer created this one. So it does remind me of that, but it also reminds me of Diptyque's Volute. No, wait, Eau Duelle, not Volute. Diptyque's Eau Duelle, the Atelier Cologne fragrance, Vanille Insensé, even the La Parfum de Rosine's Vanille Paradox. They're very kind of spicy fragrances. So I would call this a warm, spicy, powdery iris fragrance with cardamom, iris, and vanilla. And it's that cardamom, that really, really amazing smelling fragrance spice note that I really, really love. Contrast it with vanilla, and of course that buttery iris Orris experience in this. It's purely heaven. And yes, it does remind me of Lune Feline. It's the same perfumer, a little different, but really a wonderful smelling powdery vanillic iris fragrance. So this is Loubi Rouge from the house of Christian Louboutin. So this next one, my bottle is cracked and I've taped it up, but it's a great powdery, woody, powdery, musky experience from the house of ATELIER d'Orange. This is She Was an Anomaly, this one right here. Yeah, this one's been leaking. I taped it up because I don't know what I did, but it cracked somewhere here, and then it was tipped over, and then it just leaked. I'm not sure how it cracked, but I don't know. But this is very simplistic experience, very musky, very, very woody. There's lots of sandalwood here, so it's got a very, very woody experience, but lots of powder as well. It's a little vegetal in the experience, not a lot of sweetness, but there's some sweetness in there. But it's the combination of the iris, the musk, and the sandalwood together to create a very, very cozy, powdery, woody, musky iris experience. So this is She Was an Anomaly. And that's the last fragrance. That's from the house of ATELIER Orange. And that's what I've got for you guys today. These are 10 iris fragrances in case you might have missed or you might have missed. Definitely worth checking out. Some of the smaller houses that I've been really enjoying and things like that I think definitely deserve the attention. I have a bonus fragrance, so stay tuned for that. But let me know also what your thoughts are on these fragrances. Are you a fan of them? Are you hearing about them for the first time? What are your thoughts about each of the fragrances? And if there is another fragrance out there that's iris focused that I have not spoken about, do let me know. Put a comment down so I can find out. And as I said, stay tuned for my video on the whole entire collection of Celine fragrances. I'm going to do a ranked video of the whole entire collection, and also I'll do a comparison of Iris MALIKHAN with night clubbing, as people do ask me if they are any similar. Yes, they are similar, but they're different as well. And I recommend you try Iris MALIKHAN in comparison to night clubbing if you want a little more intensity, some beefiness kind of a thing. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. And then finally, in the bonus fragrance, I've got an older fragrance that I think still deserves the attention. It's an older release, probably going back to 2018? I think it's 2018. Could be 2017, but I think it's 2018. This is going to the house of Diptyque. It's Fleur de Peau. This one also is a very powdery but musky experience. And remember, I was talking about ambrette seeds recently in the video for Atelier MATERI. This is a note that's really, really fantastic. An amazing note. Muskiness, lightly fruity. It's powdery, has some medicinal touches, and, you know, fruity touches and boozy touches as well. So it's featured here. Ambrette is featured in Fleur de Peau from the house of Diptyque. So I would call this a spicy, powdery, musky iris fragrance with musk, with iris, ambrette, pink pepper, and according to the Diptyque website, they do mention ambrette, but they also mention ambretolide. Ambretolide, I believe, is a synthetic note to smell like ambrette. I don't know, but I've smelled it before from a perfumer friend or an acquaintance, and I love the way it smells. Not only do I like ambretolide, but also galaxolide. But this is a great smelling musky iris fragrance with lots of musk here in the iris and some spice thrown in from the pink pepper. I would call this a little vegetal as well. I think there might even be something like Angelica in here, but it's such a great fragrance. If I had to pick this fragrance next to Diptyque's other powdery fragrance, Orpheon, I much prefer this one because I really love that ambrette or ambretolide note in here. So this is the bonus fragrance, Fleur de Peau from Diptyque. And one thing I should also say about this is probably a very popular fragrance because they do have a hair perfume version of this as well, and a few other products. So I guess it's a popular enough product for Diptyque that they would make these other products out of the perfume. But I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, and I think it deserves the attention. Anyway, Fleur de Peau from Diptyque, and that's the bonus fragrance for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember to send me messages, emails, of any specific notes you want me to cover, ones that I have never done before. I am going to slowly dig into, covering a lot of notes that I haven't spoken about before. So please do that and I'll start working on them. Anyway, bye-bye guys.